Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Live at 4 on this Monday. Hope you all had a nice, cool weekend.
It was a beautiful
weekend.
I
loved it. Compared to last weekend?
I know, it felt great. Open the windows, let some fresh air in, good stuff.
Dr. Zorba Pastor will be along coming up in this hour, so start thinking up your medical questions. We'll let you know when to call in. But first, here's what's making news on this Monday. The President of the United States says he has the absolute right to pardon himself.
A Janesville semi-truck driver is arrested for allegedly hitting passing minivans with steel balls that were propelled by a slingshot.
And there's a debate about a debate. The Democratic Party wants to limit candidates in a gubernatorial debate. Jessica Arp explains what's going on.
Let's take a look outside today. It's another sunny, warm day. It's great.
Yeah, it is. If we could bottle these for January, this guy or girl is
good day at the dog park.
Loving it. That's quite a leash.
You think you could get Louie that far away from you? Maybe not Louie.
Louie could, yeah. Well, he's on a leash, so that would help. Anyway, the weather words for today. The pleasant weather continues, and the very pleasant Dave Caulfield is in the backyard on this Monday.
I have a much shorter leash. Let me just get that out of the way right now.
As you should.
And that's intentional.
At least half of that. Nowhere near what that dog is enjoying, but we're all enjoying this fantastic weather that's outside right now. Visible cloud track hasn't had much to do today, especially over southern Wisconsin. We really haven't seen that many clouds at all overall. Temperatures are in the 70s and 80s right now in Milwaukee at 80. Rockford also at 80, 78 in Madison. A little bit closer to home, we could see 81 in Janesville, 81 in Mineral Point, and 84, the warm spot right now in Boscobel. Here's what it looks like in downtown Madison on the Edgewater Skycam. Boy, oh boy, is that gorgeous. That picture right now. Current conditions at 78, as I mentioned. West wind at 10 miles per hour. A little bit of shade in the backyard right now. A dew point of 52. Very, very comfortable air. We're really not seeing that humidity that we saw last week in town at all. But it will come back eventually, but we'll enjoy this pleasant weather for the next couple of days. Wind speeds are a little bit breezy in some spots out of the south and west at about 10 to 15, close to 20 miles per hour in spots. A few puffy cumulus clouds trying to form in Madison, but they're fair weather clouds right now on the WISC-TV Skycam. Temperatures will be falling through the 70s into the 60s by later tonight with some clouds, but not too many. Here's a look at your first alert traffic update. We're taking a live look at Rimrock Road and the Beltline. Traffic generally moving smoothly in both directions. We are starting to see some slowdowns show up on the Beltline, but Dane County is looking good overall. No major accidents or incidents to report, which is good news. A little bit closer to the Beltline from west to east, close to Gammon Road, we are looking nice. Fish Hatchery, some delays starting to show up, and also closer to Rimrock Road right about now. And Funk Soul Brother, check it out now. Not too much happening closer to Stoughton Road. Now, here are your drive times. Verona Road to John Nolan, a little bit slow, 8 minutes with an average speed of around 35 miles per hour. And the Beltline to Janesville, that's a little bit slow right now, average speed of around 55 miles per hour. And that is your first alert traffic. We'll talk about some slight rain chances over the next couple of days in your first alert forecast.
All right, we'll see you in a few minutes. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave. First at 4, President Trump is insisting that he has absolute power to pardon himself in the special counsel's Russia probe.
But constitutional experts say that assertion is not accurate. Angelica Alvarez has more from the White House.
President Trump doubled down on his interpretation of executive powers, tweeting this morning, "I have the absolute right to pardon myself, but why would I do that when I have done nothing wrong?" His staff repeated that for reporters.
Thankfully, the president hasn't done anything wrong and therefore wouldn't need one.
The president's legal team is trying to avoid a subpoena from special counsel Robert Mueller, forcing Mr. Trump to testify before a grand jury in the Russia probe. The notion of a self-pardon was raised back in January in a letter from Trump's attorneys. It argued the president could terminate the inquiry or even exercise his power to pardon.
Even Richard Nixon never suggested he could pardon himself.
Constitutional law professor Louis Michael Seidman says not only is there no precedent for the commander-in-chief to pardon himself, it's actually unconstitutional. The last Justice Department memo on the subject reads, under the fundamental rule that no one may be a judge in his own case, the president cannot pardon himself. It was issued on August 5th, 1974. Nixon resigned just 4 days later. Angelica Alvarez, CBS News, the White House.
And President Trump issued 2 unrelated pardons last week and discussed several others.
Illinois police are releasing more details on the arrest of a Janesville man who they say is responsible for some scary incidents on interstate highways. 53-year-old semi-truck driver Kevin Casey was arrested on Friday. He admitted to police to shooting out minivan windows with metal balls from a slingshot. In one of the incidents, a 3-year-old boy was cut by flying glass after the passenger side window of his family's minivan shattered while driving through Champaign, Illinois on the interstate highway. Police say Casey admitted to shooting at minivans while he was driving his truck route.
The type of vehicles that were being targeted were largely minivans.
Police say there are at least 45 reports that they believe could be part of this investigation, and they believe there could be even more. He's being charged with criminal damage to property and aggravated battery. At this hour, a final hearing is happening for a commission with a big task ahead of them, updating the state's school funding system.
The bipartisan group of lawmakers, superintendents, lobbyists, and educators are evaluating the way public school districts receive taxpayer money with the goal of creating recommendations for the legislature. Amanda Quintana was at the hearing today and has more from the newsroom. Amanda?
Yes, well, today is the last hearing, but the Blue Ribbon Commission on School Funding has been holding hearings all across the state since the beginning of the year, and they've heard from administrators, teachers, and parents about what the problems are in their districts and how they believe those problems can be fixed. Some of the main issues are declining enrollment, a lack of funding for mental health and special education programs, and the lack of support for smaller schools in rural districts. The current school funding formula is based on revenue limits set in the early 90s that put a cap on the amount of money a school district can get from the state and from local levies. But for those schools with less students, it costs the districts more money. Many say the need to update this formula has been a long time coming.
I feel like we've kind of been a doctor here asking the patient, where does it hurt? And we've got a pretty good idea what the diagnosis is now. The task ahead of the commission is coming up with the right prescriptions that will help those districts that need help without harming other districts, and that will be the tricky part.
Members of the Wisconsin Public Education Network say every student, no matter what zip code they live in or language they speak, deserves equal access to education. Another one of the problems to be addressed, the teacher crisis. District members say they can't afford to compete for teachers as it becomes a less desirable profession. We will hear more about those issues at 5, including the problems parents have with special education funding, which has been frozen for decades.
Amanda Quintana in the newsroom. Thanks, Amanda.
The Supreme Court has ruled in favor of a Colorado baker who refused to make a cake for a same-sex wedding. Mola Lange has the details from the Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court said Jack Phillips' religious rights were violated when a Colorado Civil Rights Commission ruled against him because he refused to bake a cake for a same-sex wedding. Justice Anthony Kennedy wrote, "The Civil Rights Commission's treatment of his case has some elements of a clear and impermissible hostility toward the sincere religious beliefs that motivated his objection." Phillips says same-sex marriage violates his Christian beliefs. It was Charlie Craig and Dave Mullins who asked Phillips to create their cake. They say they're disappointed with the court's decision, but not defeated.
I feel like we've helped change public opinion, and that's a win for us.
The court's ruling did reaffirm protections for LGBTQ rights and left open the possibility that future cases involving refusal of service could be decided differently. The ACLU, which represented Craig and Mullins, said the court reversed the Masterpiece Cake Shop decision based on concerns unique to the case, but reaffirmed its long-standing rule that states can prevent the harms of discrimination in the marketplace, including against LGBT people. Mola Lange, CBS News, the Supreme Court.
Justices Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Sonia Sotomayor were the dissenting voters, and we'll talk more about this decision and upcoming Supreme Court decisions with a UW professor coming up in the next segment.
A man suspected in a string of killings in the Phoenix suburb of Scottsdale, Arizona, fatally shot himself as police closed in this morning. Officers tracked down the suspect to an extended stay hotel in Scottsdale, but police have not released his name or a possible motive. The first victim was 59-year-old Stephen Pitt, a prominent forensic psychiatrist who testified in the John Benet Ramsey case in 1996. Less than 24 hours later, 2 paralegals were shot and killed at a law firm in downtown Scottsdale, and a 4th victim was found dead just after midnight Saturday, halfway between the sites of the previous shootings.
The death toll is climbing from a volcano erupting in Guatemala. 62 people are confirmed dead in the explosive eruption of the volcano of fire. Authorities fear the death toll could go even higher. Residents say they were not warned before the fast-moving flows of lava, ash, and mud swept through nearby villages. Well, candidates for governor and the director of the Marquette Law School poll are both criticizing a decision by the state's Broadcasters Association about who will take part in a debate next month.
There's concern about the number of candidates being let in and the criteria to get them to the debate. Political reporter Jessica Arp is here now to explain.
Well, this is a challenge that many progressive groups have faced even before the June 1st filing deadline. How do you hold a debate with so many candidates? As of the June 1st filing deadline, 10 candidates have filed to run as Democrats for governor in Wisconsin. They gathered this weekend for the state party convention in Oshkosh for speeches. So far, the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association has been the only organization to announce a televised hour-long debate for the primary. And today, the WBA announced their criteria, saying only the top 4 candidates in the most recent Marquette Law School poll would be admitted. In a statement, the president and CEO of the WBA said, quote, "In order to have a lively exchange of ideas between candidates in the time allowed, we can only accommodate 4 candidates," saying that will give the candidates only 10 minutes apiece with time for questions. They also talked about the Marquette Law School poll being the only statewide recognized reliable nonpartisan political survey. The state Democratic Party responded tonight saying they hope the WBA will reconsider its decision to drastically narrow the field. Quote, "It is possible the criteria could actually exclude the August 14th primary winner." Now, also late today, Charles Franklin, the director of the Marquette Law School poll, said he did not think the poll should be used for the primary criteria to get in the debate, saying, quote, "All polls have a margin of error, making small percentage differences between candidates in a crowded field especially uncertain." The WBA said in that response you saw there, that poll is the only recognized reliable nonpartisan political survey. We should note WISC-TV is a member of the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association, and I am slated to be a member of the panel of questioners for this July 27th debate, but decisions on criteria for debate entry is the responsibility of the WBA leadership.
And the latest poll is not even out yet, so we don't even know who those 4 candidates would be.
It's not at this point, and when you look at the last Marquette Law School poll that they held over the weekend, Kelda Roys was the straw poll winner. WISCPolitics.com held a straw poll. She won the straw poll. I think she had like 0.8% name recognition in that last poll. Now, the Marquette Law School poll said they're going to do 2, one in June, one in July. Granted, dates have not been announced yet, so we'll see 2 more, but whether those results will be a lot different, whether it's going to be similar to the straw poll, it's really sort of hard to know at this point.
And it wasn't a party endorsement. Let's make that clear. It was a WISC politics.
That's correct. They generally open up a poll to all of the party activists, who are the folks who come to the annual statewide convention. They open that up, ask for votes, and Kelda Roys was the winner of that poll. But it is not an endorsement. The party at this point has not said they are going to endorse or choose a candidate of this field of 10 that is now running.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how this is resolved.
That's true.
Stay tuned.
Jess,
thank you, Jess. When we come back, Apple is trying to make you use your iPhone less.
We'll find out what the company is doing to help you ramp down your phone usage when Live at 4 continues. Well, the company behind the smartphones many of us can't live without is now doing something to help us kick the habit.
At its annual developers conference in San Jose, Apple announced several new ways for people to monitor how much time they're spending on their phones. The features will be part of the mobile operating system update iOS 12. It will feature the option where you can view how much screen time you or your children are spending on your devices and what apps. A time setting will allow parents to limit the amount of screen time a child has, and it will also give them the option to limit their time on certain apps.
Ooh, that's not going to go over somehow.
It's a great idea.
It is a great idea, but I can see some arguments there. A tech rally on Wall Street helps push stocks higher. The Dow Industrials gained 178 points, closing at 24,813. The NASDAQ Composite Index added 52, and the S&P 500 was up 12. Well, as we mentioned earlier, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled in favor of a Colorado baker who refused to bake a wedding cake for a gay couple.
But the court is not deciding the larger issue in the case, whether a business can refuse to serve gay and lesbian people. Ryan Owen is a professor of political science at UW-Madison, and he is our go-to expert on the Supreme Court.
Good to see you again.
Welcome back. Good to see you again.
Thanks for having me.
So the baker in this case lost several of his appeals in the state of Colorado. So what was your reaction to this decision today?
Well, I think most people expected this to be sort of a circumscribed ruling. I don't think anybody thought that the court was going to go off and make a major landmark type ruling in this. So the fact that it wasn't particularly surprising, but I was a little surprised that the court decided the case as a function of the commissioner's perceived hostility towards religion. It seemed like an issue that definitely Justice Kennedy was concerned with, Justice Gorsuch. I wasn't sure that they were going to rule on that issue, but they did.
That was the Colorado Civil Rights Commission?
That's correct, yeah. So during the hearings below on this issue, a number of the commissioners had made a number of comments that were perceived to be, hostile towards religion, and some of them were pretty blatantly problematic. And the court, by a 7-2 majority, said, we're not going to tolerate this kind of stuff. This is going to get kicked back down. So they didn't make a landmark ruling that set precedent for, the broader issue. But what they did do, though, is I think signal something important to the lower courts and to these commissioners that we're going to pay attention now to what you're doing in terms of, respect for religion and religious liberties. We're going to pay attention to this. We're going to monitor to make sure that you're not going only one way, one direction with these decisions. And so I think that's important.
Mm-hmm. And we expect a number of major rulings in the coming weeks. What's down the pike here?
Well, we still haven't gotten a decision in the gerrymandering case yet. Gill versus Whitford. In fact, that was in the
Wisconsin redistricting?
Exactly, the Wisconsin redistricting case. It was one of the first cases the court heard this term. That's actually 99% sure that's a case that's going to be written by, an opinion that's going to be written by Chief Justice Roberts. He's the only justice from that sitting who hasn't written an opinion yet. So that's likely to be one of his. We also have an opinion coming down soon in cell site tower location information, whether police officers need to get a warrant to obtain that information or not. We have a public union case where the court will decide whether folks who work in industries in the public setting can be forced to contribute union dues even though they don't want to be in the union. And a handful of other cases as well. There's an abortion case that has yet to be decided, and of course President Trump, the travel ban case. So we have yet to hear those, and there's about 23, I think, yet to be decided.
Wow.
So the bigger issue, back to the same-sex wedding cake case, the bigger issue about whether or not businesses have a right to deny certain clients probably won't be addressed for some time.
It's going to come back. There's no question about it. This is something that the lower courts are going to have to decide regularly. This will come back to the Supreme Court at some point, maybe with facts that are slightly different than this one that make it a little easier for the justices to suss out what's going on, but it'll definitely be back soon.
It would be a different case, though. This case would not be coming back. This particular
That's correct.
Case.
This particular case is done, but there are plenty of other cases that are similar to this that'll be back.
Did the 7-2 ruling surprise you at all?
Well, given how the court decided on sort of the religious hostility claim, not particularly. It is, as many have said, a fairly circumscribed or narrow decision. Justice Kagan, I think, has been pretty consistent on this. She's of the sort of religious pluralism view, so that component doesn't surprise me all that much. You know, we'll be interested to see. I mean, Justice Gorsuch had some views that were very different from Justice Kagan's in this. Justice Thomas had some very divergent views. So we're seeing a very, very fractured court on this issue. And so I think it'll be important the next time they hear it that they have facts that are a little bit cleaner than this one was. So, for example, maybe a heterosexual couple that wants to get married that has a pro-same-sex marriage message on a cake. That would have, split the focus, right? Is this about a gay couple or is it about the message? It was, difficult to tell in this case because of that. So with some different factual scenarios, we might be more likely to get a major opinion from the court.
It's going to be a very busy summer, so hopefully we'll have you back very soon.
Indeed.
Great to see you, Ryan.
Right,
thank you so much.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, they're coming up, a celebration of a national day near and dear to our hearts.
That's when Live at 4 continues. We'll be right back.
What's
Take a look at this. Kathy Rose of Florida has found Jesus on this horseshoe crab shell that a friend gave her. At first, she washed the shell, set it out to dry. After a few days, she looked at the shell, and as time went along, the image of the shell got lighter, resembling a Rembrandt picture of Jesus. She's hoping the image will inspire people no matter who or what they believe in. I think that's a first. We've had Jesus on a grilled cheese.
And potato chips.
Potato chips, the grilled cheeses.
Wow,
the
look
crabby
at that.
cheeses.
It took me a while before it finally popped out for me, and I see it. Yeah,
kind of cool.
It is.
It is June 4th. It's Thank God It's Monday Day instead of Thank God It's Friday. Start the week off on a positive.
Trying to be positive? Okay. It is National Shopping Cart Day. On this date in 1937, Sylvan Goldman created the first shopping cart for use in his Oklahoma City area Humpty Dumpty store. That'll be good for your next trivia contest.
Absolutely. And as we celebrate June Dairy Month, not diary as it's written in the prompter, in Wisconsin,
give me a break.
Not to call anybody out, it's National Cheese Day. And the internationally, you know what? That's because I made fun of somebody, and now that I can't read.
That's
the
right.
internationally loved food comes from pressed curds of milk from cows, buffalo, goats, or sheep. Cheese's texture and taste then comes from temperature and aging, as well as seasonings. That's preaching to the choir, folks.
Yes, it is.
I love cheese. What do we have? Colby Jack, cheddar, and Munster.
What would you like?
Do the Munster mash, I think.
All right, we'll cut it up.
We'll cut the cheese
during the break. Not on air.
That was
Can't
coming.
do that on air.
That was too easy. That was low-hanging fruit.
You have to do it, and you have to love these temperatures right now. Speaking of temperature, maybe perfect for cheese outside.
Who knows?
It's perfect for a lot of other things. We'll talk about the pleasant temperatures continuing in your First Alert forecast. Good afternoon. I hope you're having a great Monday so far. We're a couple of days now into meteorological summer, and we can report that the period of May, April, and March, let's go back in time, in this case, was one of the wettest springs on record for Madison. 12.66 inches of rain in the months of March, April, and May. That comes in 9th place all time. So there were 8 springs that were wetter across the period of time where records were kept in Madison. And so that got me thinking, does a wet spring necessarily mean a wet summer? Well, not necessarily, actually. The top 8 wettest springs actually had usually a dry or normal normal precipitation, that is, summer. Now, there are some exceptions to that, notably 1993, that's 11th place all time. Heavy rain and flooding basically all summer. It did not stop raining from the spring and summer months, even into the fall at times. The Climate Prediction Center says that we actually have a slight chance of seeing above average precipitation during the months of June, July, and August. As far as temperatures go, I looked at that too. It's really, really tough to tell. All over the place those temperatures are, and there's also an equal chance this summer of seeing either below or above average temperatures. So we just don't know just yet. But the next 7 days and the next 10 days, we know pretty well. As we look at the high temperature trend, we can see the 70s over the next couple of days and then into the 80s by the middle of this week. It does look like as we enter the middle of June, we turn that heat on once again. Very hot temperatures could be on the way for some of us. If you're not a fan of that, cross those fingers. If you are a fan of that, cross those fingers as well. It never hurts to do that and try and get some good luck in town. Weather track showing not much going on. High pressure dominating our weather pattern for today. There is a slight chance of seeing a shower or storm as a weak cold front passes tonight. But overall, much of the United States looking quiet. Some storms closer to Texoma. That, of course, is Texas and Oklahoma. I used to live there, so I can say that. And also some storms to our south and west at the present time, but Doppler track generally quiet across much of the area. Zooming in, we haven't had really any clouds overall for southern Wisconsin, so we are looking very, very nice for today and for bike week as well. Over the next couple of days, plenty of sunshine, warm temperatures, low humidity. That is so key, folks, especially if you're doing strenuous activity outside. And we do have dry days through Wednesday. Our thunderstorm chances really start to ramp up as we head into Thursday. Temperatures right now in the 70s and 80s, and dew points very comfortable there. Once we start talking about 40s and 50s on our dew points, that's air that you just head outside and you go, ah. Comfortable, really comfortable air. Wind speeds out of the west generally a little bit on the breezy side at about 15 to 20 miles per hour in spots. Our time lapse in Platteville, you're really not seeing that much because we have had high pressure just be so dominant today that really no clouds have formed in the sky. A few more right now in Platteville on our Queen Bee Radio Skycam as that front gets a little bit closer. So tonight, partly cloudy. A slight chance of showers and thunderstorms with temperatures in the 50s, and tomorrow partly sunny, a little bit cooler with highs in the low 70s. So future tracks showing this front getting closer and closer tonight. There's a chance of a shower or thunderstorm. Shouldn't cause any concern or problems. No major worries with that front coming through. Then on Tuesday, we get the sunshine back. Temperatures in the 70s, and we are just going up from there. Some slight shower chances come back during the afternoon and evening on Wednesday, and really start to ramp up on Thursday as well. Your 7-day forecast showing that stormy period about Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Not going to be raining that whole time, but our shower chances are maximized at that time. Sunday and Monday looking very nice and sunny with temperatures near 80. And you can see during the back half of the 10-day forecast, some stormy weather comes back, and also our temperatures go up into the upper 80s, close to 90. Especially as we head into the middle of this month, hot temperatures become a little bit more likely.
That's what you expect.
And we're inching up toward 80 as an average.
Right, exactly. It should be about 74, 75 right now. So actually the month of June doesn't really have a steep temperature climb as far as averages, but by the end of this month we should be around 81, 82.
It's very summery.
It looks like a nice week this week too. Good stretch.
All right.
Our producer is talking to us in our ears.
When we come back, we'll meet our pet of the week, Duck.
Oh.
Duck.
Marissa DeGroot is here, oh, buddy, with James Pond.
Pond.
That's when Live at 4 continues. We'll be right back. Pond.
A shot of downtown Madison from our Edgewater Skycam.
Look at that nice breeze.
Beautiful sunny Monday. Well, it's time for Potentially Yours here on Live at 4.
Marissa DeGroot from the Dane County Humane Society is here with a first to help find James Pond a forever home. Hi, Marissa.
Hi.
So it's a duck.
It is.
Now, I didn't realize people could have ducks as pets.
Yep, and actually James was found as a stray in someone's backyard, and they originally thought he was a wild duck, so brought him into our wildlife center. But once we saw him, we knew that he was actually a Peking duck.
Oh, so he's a domesticated duck.
Yep, and he's about a month old.
But let's not be confused. It's not a house pet.
Nope. So James Pond here is actually looking for, a nice space that he can grow up in and have some nice water area, but a nice enclosure. They don't fly, so you don't need to have a top on there unless you want to make sure to protect them from any predators.
It needs water.
But yeah, he's going to want some nice water to swim around in. We have him out in our chicken coop right now because he's small enough still, but he'll need some more space than that.
What do you feed him?
My necklace?
He's looking for some toys.
You feed him gold chains?
Yeah. So he's going to have a nice little food mix, but we've also been feeding him some different veggies and things and putting things in some water so he can go around and kind of eat that.
So maybe a farm environment.
Yeah, or a little hobby farm. Definitely someplace where maybe he can grow up with some other ducks. He's very lonely right now.
Aww.
When you go out there, he'll kind of quack at you, and he loves to snuggle. He's a little mad at me right now because...
well, all this commotion.
And he's under the hot lights.
Yeah. But I heard he likes to snuggle with a lot of our staff. He even eats mosquitoes off their arms, and they're hanging out with him.
That's interesting. They have a personality.
Yes, and he's definitely a snuggly one.
He's so cute.
I want a duck.
I love ducks.
And we're not sure about the ordinance in town, if you could have one.
Yep, definitely something to look into, but you can also contact our adoption center, and they're going to be able to help you figure out a lot of different
I'm surprised they can't fly.
Yeah, these ones, the Peking ducks don't fly.
Interesting.
Oh, we should be on the patio with our pond for him. What about last week's
Last week?
Oh, we had
Gray Bar.
Yes, Gray Bar, a little senior kitty, and Gray Bar did get adopted.
Oh, that's great news.
But if you're looking for other great kitties, we are just going to be starting to head into kitten season. So they're starting to come in.
Okay.
All right, and you got grow construction on your driveway, so if you head out, and you can still get in.
Yep, you can still get in. Hours are going to be still normal, but there's a detour. So go to giveshelter.org and see that that map. But just make sure to take it easy on those off-roading parts.
The map and information on James Pond and all the
Good luck, buddy. So cute.
All right, thanks, Marissa.
Thank you.
If you have a question for Dr. Zorba Pastor, now is the time to call 270-9933.
Zorba is standing by at his clinic in Oregon. Hi, Zorba.
What? We're going to talk about...
Good afternoon. Here is your Monday First Alert traffic update. Taking a live look at Rimrock Road and the Beltline. A little bit slow go on that eastbound side, but nothing too bad. We do have an accident to report on the Beltline at the present time. Dane County is looking good overall. That accident right at Broadway and the Beltline eastbound, and that's slowing things down to about 25 miles per hour. Other spots a little bit slower than that, closer to 20 miles per hour eastbound on the Beltline. So here are your drive times. 9 minutes from Verona Road to John Nolan right now, and on the other side in that same stretch, about 7 minutes with an average speed of around 40 miles per hour. And that is your First Alert traffic.
All right, Dave, thank you. What could possibly go wrong with this? Jared Lysick is trying to set a land speed record on a mountain bike, strapping a paramotor on his back. His buddy is keeping track of the speed. First, 20 miles an hour. Move over, cows. He then hits 30. A few runs later, he hits 54 miles an hour. Not quite the record, but quite enough for one day.
That's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. All right, let's go to Dr. Zorba Passer. He's taking your medical calls at 270-9933. Hi, Zorba.
Hi, good to see you guys.
Good. Susan and I are both one big mosquito bite.
Oh, all over. The mosquitoes are terrible this year.
Oh, what can you do?
They will really take you away. Well, there's some old-fashioned remedies that I have to tell you really don't work very well. Thiamine was an old-fashioned remedy that was used supposedly to get rid of mosquitoes. You would take it internally, but unfortunately the data showed it really didn't work very well. There's DEET, of course. You can spray DEET on your clothing. That, of course, has a certain odor to it. That seems to be the most effective thing that you can do to prevent mosquito bites. Then there's clothing. There's something called permethrin, and you can put that on your clothing, and it actually works between washings. And new studies show that is very effective. Permethrin, you can buy it online or often at sporting goods stores like Dick's, and you spray that on the clothing. Does not have the same smell as DEET, but that works really, really well for tick bites. And then, of course, once you get a bite, it's that old-fashioned remedy, calamine lotion, alcohol on the bite, and of course, look at an antihistamine for itching, especially at night. Benadryl, over-the-counter, generic, being the best thing you can take at nighttime for itching. And other than moving away from Wisconsin and the Southwest, that's my best advice.
And some of the mosquitoes do carry diseases, too.
Oh, they do. We have to worry, of course, about West Nile virus, and you have to worry about, you know, as you say, the mosquitoes carry disease, and tick being the big one. And the other thing about ticks that I think is very important, a tick has to be on your body for more than 24 hours in order to spread Lyme disease. So if the tick is new, less than 24 hours, you don't have to worry. If it's more than 24 hours, but less than 3 or 4 days, 200 milligrams of an antibiotic called doxycycline, 1 dose will get rid of Lyme disease. So if a tick has been on for more than a day, call your doctor and see about getting that 1 dose antibiotic. It's very, very effective.
Oh, that's great information. All right, let's go ahead and get to the phones. People are waiting to talk to you, and we'll start with Ann in Verona. Hi, Ann. What's your question?
Hi, Dr. Zorba. I have a friend who was diagnosed with thyroid cancer and had her thyroid removed. The cancer was encapsulated. However, her oncologist just told her that she has got a viral cancer, and I've never heard of that before. What is that?
Well, once again, without having the actual data from the oncologist, it's difficult to say exactly what it is. One of the things about thyroid cancer is 95 to 97% of the time it's curable. And then some people, in addition to having a removal, need radioactive iodine, which is the most common treatment for thyroid cancer. But it's hard to say precisely what it is because you can't tell without actually more information.
Zorba,
thanks
I think
for the call.
She was asking you, though, about viral cancer. Is there such a thing as, have you ever heard of viral cancer?
Well, if we look at cancers, if you look at, for instance, cervical cancer, it's a viral cancer. It's from human papillomavirus. If you look at something called Burkitt's lymphoma, a type of lymphoma, that's also a viral cancer. So some cancers are actually caused by viruses, and the theory is that many cancers may actually be caused by viruses. So that's not the only, quote, viral cancer that might be around.
Okay, great.
All right, let's go to John in Beloit. Hi, John, what's your question?
Hi. Dr. Zorba, I've been recently diagnosed with osteopenia. What can I do for that?
Exercise, that's the most important thing you can do, making sure it's exercise such as walking exercise, being on a treadmill, being on an elliptical, making sure you get at least 1,000 milligrams of calcium a day, preferably through food, because we know it works better through food. Those are the things to do. If you have severe osteopenia at the far end near osteoporosis, then you need to be on a medication. But if it's only mild osteopenia, it's a matter of getting that calcium and doing the exercise. Exercise is the key way to really protect osteopenia from becoming osteoporosis, which is what we need to treat.
All right, we had Thomas on line 3, but he hung up. He had a question about something with a chest condition from smoking. I'm not sure what it is. It's hard to tell what that is.
So what kind of condition from smoking?
A chest condition.
Well, smoking can cause lots of different chest conditions. Chronic lung disease, emphysema, bronchitis, and it turns out more people die of COPD from smoking than die of lung cancer. Only 1 out of 5 heavy smokers die of lung cancer, but the other 4 out of 5 who actually die from smoking, it's either heart attacks or COPD. So there are lots of chest conditions caused by smoking. It is still the #1 toxin in our environment, and 70% of Wisconsinites still smoke. And that is a silly thing to do.
And it's never too late to stop.
Never too late to stop.
Mark
you
is
always
the
get
good
benefit
example.
when you quit smoking.
All right.
How long have you been stopped?
4 years.
That's amazing.
Hey, way to go.
Yeah.
Zorby used to smoke too, way back when. 100
oh,
years
way
ago.
back. I quit in '69, long time ago.
When doctors were still recommending cigarettes for
Oh, yes, believe me.
All right, Zorba, we are out of time. We'll keep slapping those mosquitoes, I guess.
Thanks for your calls, everybody.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Orville. We'll see you soon.
Take care.
We'll be right back with a final check of your forecast. This is just about perfect.
Absolutely outside. And unfortunately, though, a weak disturbance coming through may produce a couple of showers or a thunderstorm tonight, but not right now, folks. It's very sunny and nice outside. Get out and enjoy this evening. Temperatures in the 70s and 80s. For tomorrow, we'll start off in the 50s, reach highs in the low to mid 70s with a good amount of sunshine, but then the clouds are also going to be there as well.
You come with your own laugh track.
I mean, I didn't know it was that funny.
That's nice. Something's happening in the newsroom. We're out of the joke.
All right.
Thanks,
well, overnight showers, perfect timing.
Yep.
Get them out of the way by time we get up.
Exactly.
All right, Dave, thank you. And coming up tomorrow here on Live at 4, we'll talk summer travel deals with CBS travel editor Peter Greenberg.
And could you save money by using a used smartphone? Consumer Reports has some advice. Before you dive into the used smartphone market, we'll talk about it tomorrow on Live at 4.